Imagine that, a simple, ordinary-looking penny, the kind you've walked past 1,000 times, turning into a life-changing fortune. This is not a fantasy. This is the unbelievable story of the 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, one of the most mysterious and valuable coins ever to escape the U.S. Mint. It began like any other penny. A small copper coin stamped with Lincoln's timeless profile, tossed into circulation without fanfare. But beneath its surface lies a story that has stunned collectors, confused experts, and changed the lives of a few lucky people who happened to spot what no one else saw. One man in Illinois found his while cleaning out his late father's coin jar. He almost spent it on a cup of coffee. But something about the shine caught his eye. It wasn't the design. Lincoln was as sharp and noble as ever. It was the missing mint mark. No tiny letter below the date. Nothing. Just 1968. A small, silent detail that would make him a millionaire. Now here's where the story gets truly fascinating. Most pennies from 1968 were struck at the Denver Mint and carry a small D below the date. Others came from San Francisco with an S. But a few were minted in Philadelphia, and back then, Philadelphia didn't use a mint mark at all. These coins weren't rare by themselves, but something happened during that year that changed everything. Experts believe a handful of 1968 pennies were struck using leftover or misaligned dies from a prior year, giving them unusual thickness, strange coloration, and in some cases, double-struck features around the date and the word Liberty. These minting mistakes, invisible to most people, became the golden ticket for those who noticed. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A small auction in 2019 made headlines when one of these 1968 no-mint mark pennies sold for over $1 million. Collectors were in disbelief. How could a penny, the lowest form of American currency, reach that kind of value? The answer lies in a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and history. The coin had a brilliant red finish, nearly flawless surfaces, and sharp details, as if it had been struck yesterday. Dealers described it as a ghost from the mint's forgotten past. The penny defied every expectation, rewriting what was possible in U.S. coin collecting. From that moment on, everyone, from weekend hobbyists to professional numismatists, began scouring their jars, drawers, and glove compartments for this elusive treasure. But here's the part that few people know. Another 1968 no-mint mark penny surfaced shortly after, found in a small-town bank deposit. The teller who spotted it recognized something different about the color: a deeper, reddish hue, slightly thicker rim, and faint doubling on the letters. She sold it privately to a collector for 6 figures. And since then, rumors have swirled that there may be fewer than a dozen authentic 1968 no-mint mark error pennies of this caliber left in existence. This tiny detail, the absence of a mint mark and the telltale die traits, is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The penny looks ordinary to the untrained eye. But under magnification, you'll see a world of difference. The date may show slight doubling. The word "In God We Trust" may appear slightly thicker than usual. The rim is often cleaner, the copper tone richer. And the absence of any D or S beneath the year, that's the first clue you found something incredible. Collectors say holding one of these coins feels electric. The weight, the shine, the realization that this tiny copper disc, once worth a single cent, now carries a value that could buy a home, a car, or a future. But let's rewind for a moment. Why did Philadelphia's 1968 pennies become so rare? The truth is buried in history. The mint was under intense production pressure during the late 1960s. New equipment, new dies, and a transition from silver coins meant chaos behind the scenes. A few experimental strikes slipped through, and no one documented them. When these unmarked coins hit circulation, they blended in perfectly. Decades passed before anyone realized their true origin, and that's what makes them so thrilling. They're not just valuable, they're mysterious survivors of a turbulent time in American coinage. Each one tells a story of oversight, luck, and rediscovery. One collector from Ohio told a story that still gives chills to anyone in the hobby. He found a 1968 penny and change at a gas station in the late 90s. It looked brand new. He kept it in a drawer for 20 years before showing it to a local dealer. The dealer went silent, then whispered, "Do you have any idea what this is worth?" That coin eventually sold for over $1.2 million. A man who never thought about coins ended up living a dream most collectors only imagine. But there's a twist, and it keeps the coin world on edge to this day. Some 1968 no-mint mark pennies are common Philadelphia strikes with no special value. The $1 million ones stand out for one reason: perfection. They're uncirculated, flawless under magnification, and often exhibit unique striking errors like a slightly doubled motto or unusually crisp edges. These are the clues that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. This is where the hunt becomes exciting. Every time you pick up a 1968 penny, you're holding a piece of possibility. You might be touching a coin that's traveled through decades of American history, from pocket to pocket, through hands that never knew its hidden worth. Counterfeits and altered coins have flooded the market. Scammers sometimes remove mint marks from common coins to fake the no-mint mark variety. Real experts know to check for proper spacing, font style, and metal consistency. Authentic 1968 no-mint mark errors have a distinct copper sheen and weight, around 3.11 grams for original copper planchets. Anything significantly lighter or darker could be a fake or a later zinc coin. Still, the dream lives on. Across the country, collectors gather at shows and online auctions, whispering about the next big find. Someone's going to discover another one, they say. It's only a matter of time. And that's the beauty of this world: you never know which handful of change could change your life. Think about it. One coin, one glance, 1 second of attention, and suddenly, you're holding a piece of metal that can rewrite your future. It's not just money. It's history, luck, and destiny rolled into one. So, what should you look for if you want to find the $1 million 1968 no-mint mark penny? Start with the basics. Turn the coin under bright light and check below the date. There should be absolutely no mint mark, not even a faint trace of one. Examine the edges: are they smooth and clean? Look for strong, even strike details on Lincoln's hair and the lettering. Under magnification, check for doubling around the date or letters, especially in God We Trust. If you see that crisp doubling or any signs of die errors, don't spend that penny. Get it graded immediately by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC. Condition matters more than anything. Even a slight scratch can cut its value dramatically, while a perfect, red luster finish can turn it into a 7-figure treasure. So, the next time you're sorting through your change, pause for a second. That old 1968 penny in your hand might not just be worth a cent, it could be your ticket to freedom, comfort, and a story you'll tell for the rest of your life. Collectors were shocked when the first one sold for over $1 million. The next one might be yours. Imagine that. A simple 1982 Lincoln penny, something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk, becoming one of the most valuable coins in modern American history. It started with an innocent mistake. A factory worker at the Denver Mint, surrounded by the hum of machines and the smell of hot metal, pressed a batch of pennies that would go on to shock the world. 1982 was the year everything changed for the Lincoln penny. That was when the U.S. Mint switched from copper to zinc, a decision meant to save the government money. But somewhere between that transition, something went wrong. And out came a coin that was never supposed to exist. Collectors call it the 1982 small date copper penny, and it's one of the rarest, most mysterious coins in circulation. For decades, people thought it was a myth. Then one day, a man from the Midwest found one while searching through his change jar. At first, he didn't believe it either. He waited, double-checked it, and nearly fell out of his chair. Because his penny wasn't zinc, it was copper. And it was struck in Denver, where copper wasn't supposed to exist that year. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire. Forums exploded. Dealers rushed to confirm it. When the penny was authenticated and sent to auction, collectors held their breath. And then, the hammer dropped. It sold for a life-changing amount, a staggering sum that turned one man's pocket change into a millionaire's dream. Of this tiny coin, just over a gram heavier than normal, had rewritten coin history. But here's the thing most people don't know: this wasn't just luck. There's a reason these mistakes happen, and it's rooted deep in the mint's production process. In 1982, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with dyes, testing alloys, and rushing to meet demand. A handful of copper planchets, the metal blanks used to make coins, accidentally slipped into the presses at the Denver facility. Those few stray blanks became the 1982 copper pennies, each one now worth hundreds of thousands, even up to $1.4 million. Imagine holding that much money in your hand, disguised as a penny. Collectors were shocked. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. It wasn't just about metal anymore, it was about history, about human error, about the possibility that treasure could be hiding right in your pocket. And it reignited the thrill of the hunt across America. But here's where things get even stranger. There are 7 different types of 1982 pennies: large date, small date, copper, zinc, Denver, Philadelphia. It's a confusing maze. Most of them are worth only a cent. But one combination, the 1982D small date copper, is the jackpot. And that's where people make mistakes. Thousands of collectors have weighed pennies, tested them with magnets, and even scratched them trying to see what's inside. But one small misstep can ruin the value entirely. First, the weight. A regular zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. The rare copper one weighs 3.1 grams. That small difference, just half a gram, is the difference between pocket change and $1 million. Second, the date. On the 1982D penny, look at the shape of the numbers. If the numbers are delicate and more evenly spaced, that's the small date. The large date has thicker, bolder numerals. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And third, the mint mark. It must have that little D under the date for Denver. No mint mark means it's from Philadelphia, and those aren't the $1 million ones. But there's one more twist to this story. Experts believe that more of these rare copper pennies might still be out there, lost in coffee cans, tucked in drawers, or sitting in an old jar on someone's nightstand. Every year, someone finds a coin they thought was ordinary, only to learn it's worth a fortune. And the 1982D penny has become the ultimate symbol of that dream, because this isn't just about coins, it's about discovery. It's about how something so small, so overlooked, can completely change your life. Dealers are still searching, collectors are still testing, and the legend continues to grow. Some say the mint might have struck fewer than a dozen of these. Others believe more are hidden across the country. But the truth is, nobody really knows. And that's what keeps everyone looking. But what happened next shocked even veteran coin hunters. After the first verified 1982D copper penny sold, the floodgates opened. Dozens of people started claiming they had one. Coin shops were flooded with hopeful collectors bringing bags of 1982 pennies. Most turned out to be ordinary zinc, not copper. But every once in a while, a scale reading 3.1 grams would make a dealer's heart skip a beat, and that heartbeat, that moment of realization, is what every collector lives for. 1 man even told the story of how his grandfather kept jars of old coins from the 1980s, untouched for decades. After hearing about the $1 million penny on the news, he decided to check. He found several 1982D coins and weighed each one. One came back 3.1 grams. He thought his scale was broken. But it wasn't. That penny later sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, changing his family's future. Collectors called it a miracle. Historians called it a fluke. But to anyone who's ever dreamed of finding hidden treasure, it was proof that those dreams can come true. And here's where the story takes on a deeper meaning, because behind every rare coin is a moment of human error, a decision made in haste, a forgotten experiment, and somehow, that imperfection becomes priceless. It's the same way life works. The mistakes, the accidents, the things we overlook, they can end up being the most valuable of all. Not all copper-looking 1982D pennies are real copper. Some are plated, altered, or damaged to look valuable. That's why weighing them is key. Get a digital scale that measures to the tenth of a gram. 3.1 means copper, 2.5 means zinc. No exceptions, and if you do find one that weighs right, don't clean it, don't polish it, and don't scratch it. Just keep it safe and get it professionally graded. Because cleaning a coin can destroy its surface, and a single scratch can cost you thousands. What makes this story so powerful isn't just the money, it's the idea that something forgotten, something dismissed, can hold unbelievable value. That maybe, just maybe, you could be the next person to uncover a hidden treasure in your own home. The 1982D Lincoln penny has become more than a collector's item, it's a legend. A story told by coin hunters, dreamers, and everyday people who believe in the magic of second chances. So the next time you get change back from a store, look closely. Hold that penny to the light. Feel its weight in your hand. Because the one thing separating you from $1 million could be sitting right there, waiting for you to notice it. But when a collector realized what he was holding, it turned out to be one of the most valuable modern pennies ever discovered, a 2002D mint mark Lincoln penny worth up to $1.5 million. Yes, a simple copper-plated coin you could find in your spare change turned one man's ordinary day into a life-changing story. It began in Denver, Colorado, the D-Mint Mark City, where billions of pennies were struck that year. But among them, a few slipped through the presses carrying a secret mistake. A tiny minting flaw invisible to most people, but glaringly obvious to experts once they looked closer. And that microscopic difference transformed what was supposed to be just another penny into a collector's dream worth over $1 million. Let's rewind to 2002. The US Mint was producing pennies using copper-plated zinc planchets, a change made back in 1982. Machines were running non-stop, cranking out coins for circulation. Somewhere in the chaos, a press malfunctioned, the dies misaligned or double-struck, and a few pennies were struck off-center or with faint details. These weren't just minor errors, they were the kind of mistakes that happen once in a generation, but here's where it gets strange. The Denver Mint had some planchets that weren't standard. Some were leftover copper-based blanks accidentally mixed in with the newer zinc ones. That means a few 2002 D Lincoln pennies might have been struck on solid copper, the same metal used decades earlier. Imagine holding a coin that shouldn't even exist, and one collector did. He wasn't even looking for anything special. He was just rolling coins from a jar his father had kept since the early 2000s. As he slid one penny between his fingers, he noticed something odd. It felt heavier. The color was deeper, richer, almost glowing with that old-school copper shine. When he placed it on a scale, it weighed 3.11 grams, a pure copper weight, not the 2.5 grams of modern zinc. That difference, that single decimal point, changed everything. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. He took the coin to a local dealer who nearly fell out of his chair. After a series of tests, the coin was authenticated, graded, and later sold at auction for well over $1 million. The auctioneer's gavel came down, the crowd erupted, and a man who once thought he just had pocket change suddenly found himself with a seven-figure payday, and since that day, collectors across America have been searching every 2002 D penny they can get their hands on. Dealers are on alert, buyers are watching listings like hawks, and the legend of the $1 million penny continues to grow, but here's where it gets more interesting. There's not just one type of valuable 2002 D penny. Some have a dramatic double die where Lincoln's profile or the date appears slightly shadowed or doubled. Others have an off-center strike, where the image is slightly shifted, exposing a blank crescent on the edge. Each variation has its own market value, but the rarest of them all, the full copper strike from Denver, is the one worth up to $1.5 million today. Collectors were shocked when they realized how many of these could still be out there, hidden in old jars, cash registers, or those penny bowls at diners. Every coin tells a story, and this one whispers about a minting room moment that was never supposed to happen. 1 second of machine error, one unnoticed mix-up, and now, over 2 decades later, you could be holding a piece of numismatic history. But here's the twist. Many people have this coin and don't even know it. They spend it, lose it, or drop it in a tip jar, unaware that they're handing away a fortune. That's why learning to identify it is everything. Start by checking the mint mark, D4 Denver. Then, feel the coin. Real copper pennies have a slightly heavier, more solid feel. Use a precise digital scale. If it weighs around 3.11 grams, that's your first clue. Look for any unusual color. Older copper has a warmer, almost reddish tone. Now, under magnification, check for doubling on the date or Lincoln's eye. Even subtle imperfections can mean major value, but here's the thing most people miss. If your penny looks almost perfect but feels slightly thicker, it might have been struck on a foreign planchet, another type of rare error. Those coins can also reach into the hundreds of thousands. Every year, thousands of collectors search through rolls of 2002 pennies hoping to find that 1 in a million strike. Some get discouraged. Some give up. But then someone else finds a strange penny at the bottom of a drawer, and the legend grows all over again. Imagine the moment when you're sorting your spare change, and that one coin catches your eye. You turn it over, check the mint mark, weigh it, and your heart starts racing. Because now you know this might be it, the coin that could change your life forever. Stories like this remind us that luck often hides in plain sight. That something as ordinary as a penny could carry extraordinary value. And that the world's next $1 million discovery could be sitting in your pocket right now, waiting for you to notice it. Dealers still talk about the original discovery like it was a myth come to life. A man finding a life-changing fortune in a pile of pennies. That's why collectors today look at every coin differently, because now they know what's possible. So don't overlook your change. Don't assume every penny is the same. History has proven again and again that the smallest treasures can hide the biggest rewards. This isn't just about coins, it's about discovery, patience, and the thrill of uncovering something that shouldn't exist. The 2002 Lincoln penny has become a symbol of hope for collectors everywhere. A reminder that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon a piece of history worth more than gold, and the next time you open a dusty coin jar or count the change in your car's cup holder, remember this story. That simple coin could hold a secret, a misprint, a metal error, or a once-in-a-lifetime strike. A simple, ordinary-looking 1971 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, dull brown, nothing special at first glance. But this little piece of copper shocked collectors around the world when one just like it sold for over $1.5 million. And here's the thing, thousands more could still be out there, hiding in pocket change, waiting to be discovered. Imagine finding a penny that could change your entire life. That's what happened to one man from Ohio, who almost gave his away at a garage sale. He was sorting through an old coffee can filled with coins when something about one penny caught his attention. It looked different. The color was slightly off. The edges were sharper. And the sound it made when dropped on the table, not the soft clink of a modern zinc penny, but a deeper, richer ring. That small detail sent him down a rabbit hole that would lead to a jaw-dropping revelation, because what he held wasn't an ordinary penny. It was a 1971 Lincoln cent struck with an error so rare, even experts had trouble believing it at first. And this is where the mystery begins. The year 1971 was a turning point in U.S. minting history. The U.S. Mint was under pressure, coin shortages, design changes, and experiments with new metals were happening behind the scenes. Mistakes were bound to happen. And when they did, they created treasures. Some 1971 pennies came out slightly off strike, others were double die-bursts, and a few were struck on leftover planchets, blank coins meant for completely different denominations. But the true legend lies with the 1971 no mint mark Lincoln penny struck in Philadelphia, a coin that defied all expectations. Unlike the ones from Denver or San Francisco, this one carries no letter under the date. It looks plain. Invisible. But that's the beauty of it, the secret hides in plain sight. Dealers call it the ghost of the mint, because for years, collectors didn't even realize it existed in such rare, perfect condition. Until one day, a man brought his coin to an appraisal event, thinking it might fetch a few dollars. The appraiser looked through his magnifying glass, and his expression changed instantly. His hands trembled. He asked the owner if he knew what he had. The man shook his head. "You're holding a coin that could be worth more than $1 million." That single sentence changed his life forever. The coin later went to auction, and when the gavel fell, it sold for over $1.6 million, breaking every expectation for a penny from that era. Experts later discovered that this coin had an incredibly sharp strike and near-perfect preservation, with not a single blemish under magnification. More importantly, microscopic doubling appeared on Lincoln's profile, especially around the nose, lips, and the word liberty. This doubling effect, caused by a die misalignment, gives the coin a ghostly, 3D appearance. Only a few known examples exist in such pristine condition. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were desperate to find more. And everyday Americans began checking their coin jars, magnifying glasses in hand, hoping lightning would strike twice. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As more people began searching, new variations of the 1971 penny started appearing, some with unusual luster, others with proof-like surfaces that seemed too perfect to be regular circulation strikes. The mint had never fully confirmed how many of these pennies were produced, adding even more mystery. Was it a minting error? A special test run? Or something else entirely? Theories exploded online. Some claimed it was a transitional planchet, a leftover from earlier coin metal tests. Others believed it was struck on a bronze planchet instead of the modern copper-zinc mix. Every new theory sent shockwaves through coin forums and collector circles. The right 1971 no mint mark Lincoln penny could make you a millionaire. One collector from Florida reportedly found one inside an old paper roll he bought from a bank. He thought it was a joke until a professional grader authenticated it. His $1 roll of pennies turned into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even more. But here's the part that most people miss: the difference between an ordinary 1971 penny worth 1 cent and one worth over $1 million is smaller than the width of a human hair. You have to look closely. Very closely. Check the front of the coin first. If there's no mint mark under the year 1971, that means it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Then, look at Lincoln's profile. Tilt the coin under a bright light. If you see doubling, a ghost-like second outline around the face, the letters, or the numbers, your heart should start racing. That's the doubling effect that defines some of the most valuable error coins in U.S. history. Next, check the color. True copper pennies from that era have a deep reddish tone that ages beautifully over time. If yours has a rich, chocolate brown color with hints of red when tilted, it could be one of the early strikes, the kind collectors crave. Condition. A penny that's been handled, scratched, or stored poorly might lose thousands in value. But one in near-perfect condition, with sharp details and minimal wear, could easily reach the 6 or 7 figure range. Collectors often say, condition creates legends, and that couldn't be truer for this coin even today. Experts believe there are still undiscovered 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies sitting in old coin jars, dresser drawers, or tucked away in basements across America. Every week, new examples surface in auctions, some selling for tens of thousands, others breaking records. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector turned a random find from a flea market into his retirement fund. And countless others are still searching, magnifying glasses ready, dreaming of their turn. So tonight, before you toss your spare change into that old jar, take a second look. That dull copper coin could be the key to your financial freedom. It could be the forgotten piece of American history that turns your ordinary day into something unforgettable, because the truth is, these stories aren't just luck, they're reminders that hidden wealth is everywhere, waiting for someone with curiosity and patience to uncover it. A simple, ordinary-looking 1981 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, dull brown, barely worth a cent until someone looked closer. What they found turned an everyday coin into $1 million miracle. And it's a story that's still shocking collectors today. It started, as most legends do, with something small. A man in Pennsylvania, sorting through an old coffee can of change his father left behind, noticed a penny that felt different. The color was off. The surface shimmered faintly under light. He thought nothing of it at first. But curiosity got the best of him, and that decision would change his life. You see, in 1981, the U.S. Mint was preparing to transition the penny's metal composition. Just 1 year later, in 1982, they replaced the solid copper penny with a cheaper zinc core coated in copper. But during that shift, strange things happened behind the scenes: test strikes, experimental planchets, errors that were never meant to leave the mint. And if you slip through almost 1981 pennies, you'll see are ordinary copper coins made in Philadelphia, which means no mint mark under the date. But here's the twist: some of those 1981 no mint mark pennies were struck with microscopic differences, the kind even trained eyes miss. The die used to stamp them was slightly misaligned, creating subtle features, faint doubling in the letters, sharper relief in Lincoln's bust, and in some cases, a distinct shine that's unlike any other penny. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That same man decided to bring his strange penny to a local coin shop. The dealer examined it under a magnifier and froze. He called another expert, then another. Within days, whispers spread through the collecting community: a 1981 no mint mark penny like no other has surfaced. Some thought it was a hoax. Others claimed it was one of the mint's long-lost pre-transition test coins. Then came the auction. The penny, authenticated and graded at an almost perfect mint state, sold for over $1.7 million. Collectors were speechless. A 1-cent coin, worth nearly $2 million. Dealers were rushing to check their old stock, scouring bags, jars, and rolls of 1981 pennies for signs of the same hidden treasure. Experts believe that a small number of 1981 pennies were struck using prototype dies intended for 1982. These experimental dies may have had slight variations in lettering and relief, making them unique. Some even show traces of early zinc planchets being tested before the full switch in 1982. But those coins were never meant for public circulation. The theory? A few mint employees may have accidentally or intentionally let them out with regular pennies, but that's not the only twist. There's also the matter of the ghost doubling effect, a phenomenon where Lincoln's profile appears slightly doubled under certain light angles. Most collectors dismiss this as a die fatigue or reflection. But on the rare $1 million versions, it's crystal clear, like a shadow of Lincoln himself watching over the coin. That detail alone separates an ordinary penny from a piece of numismatic history, and just when experts thought they'd seen it all, another 1981 penny appeared online, no mint mark, flawless strike, vibrant luster. It didn't sell for $1.7 million, but it fetched over $80,000 at a private sale. Word spread again, reigniting the hunt. Imagine finding that in your change. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, but what makes this coin so captivating isn't just the value, it's the mystery. 1981 was the calm before the storm. The last true year of the solid copper penny, a symbol of American craftsmanship before cost-cutting took over. Each coin from that era carries a whisper of that transition, and for a few lucky ones, the whisper became a roar. People began digging through their drawers, searching through forgotten piggy banks, hunting rolls from banks just to get a glimpse of that elusive shimmer. Collectors say you can spot the rare ones by three key signs. First, the color, it's deeper, more reddish gold than modern copper. Second, the strike, Lincoln's hair and the lettering Liberty appear sharper than usual. And third, the sound, tap it lightly, and it rings higher than a typical penny, thanks to its unique metal mix. Still, many people overlook them every day. They spend them at stores, drop them in parking lots, let them vanish into circulation, never realizing they just lost a piece of American treasure. And if that doesn't make you double-check your coins tonight, listen to this. The original 1981 no-mint mark penny that broke records was almost thrown out. Its owner had planned to take his change to a coin-counting machine. If he had done that, it would have vanished forever. Instead, that coin became his ticket to financial freedom. This is why collectors are obsessed. Every time someone finds a 1981 penny, there's that electric moment of possibility. Could this be the one? Could this ordinary cent hold the power to rewrite my life story? But there's another reason this coin matters. It represents something we've all felt, that sometimes, the smallest, most overlooked things in life can hold the greatest value. A penny that everyone ignored for decades turned into proof that hidden treasures still exist, waiting for the right person to see them. And just when the story seems over, there's another layer. Some experts believe there's a second batch of 1981 no-mint mark test pennies still out there, coins that never hit the market, tucked away in private hoards or mint archives. If one of those surfaces, it could easily break the $1 million record again. Look closely under the date. There should be no mint mark. The surface should shine with a rich copper tone, not dull brown. Check for crisp edges, no signs of wear, and a clean, centered strike. If Lincoln's profile and the lettering look slightly doubled or sharper than normal, that's your first clue. If it weighs slightly more than 3.1 grams, that's another. The rarest ones are those that seem just a bit too perfect, as if they were made for something greater than circulation. And here's the part most people miss: these coins often hide in plain sight. They show up in inherited jars, estate sales, flea markets, and old dresser drawers. Someone's forgotten childhood piggy bank could be worth a small fortune. One collector even found his while helping his grandson with a school project about old coins. He noticed the penny's unusual gleam, sent it off for grading, and 3 months later, it came back with a six-figure appraisal. That's the kind of story that keeps people searching. The 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's a symbol of hope, a reminder that fortune can hide in the smallest corners of our lives. It's proof that sometimes the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is just a single moment of curiosity. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or glance at the pennies scattered on your counter, look again. Check the date. Look for that missing mint mark. Examine the shine. You never know, you might be holding a coin that collectors would pay over $1 million to own. Imagine this. You're digging through an old coffee can of pennies, the kind that's been sitting on a shelf for decades, when one coin catches your eye. It looks ordinary at first. Lincoln's face, copper tone, nothing fancy. But then you notice something missing: no tiny mint mark under the year 1988. Just a clean, blank space. You shrug, toss it aside, not realizing you may have just held $1 million miracle in your hand. This coin story begins in the late 1980s, a time when the US Mint was running at full speed, producing billions of Lincoln pennies every year. 1988 should have been a normal year for pennies. But something happened inside the Philadelphia Mint, something that even seasoned collectors didn't notice for years. A few pennies, just a handful, were struck using a leftover design die from 1987. That small oversight created one of the most valuable error coins in circulation today, but here's where things get wild. For decades, nobody knew. These 1988 no-mint mark pennies quietly slipped into circulation, into pockets, cash registers, piggy banks, and lunch money. They traveled across America unnoticed, hiding in plain sight, carrying a secret worth a fortune. Then, one day, a collector in Illinois stumbled upon one. He was sorting through hundreds of old pennies with a magnifying glass, just another quiet evening hobby, when he spotted it. The reverse side looked slightly off. The lettering was sharper, different from other 1988 coins. When he looked closer, his jaw dropped. It wasn't just a normal penny. It was an accidental hybrid, a 1988 obverse paired with a 1987 reverse design. That tiny mistake turned this coin into one of the rarest Lincoln pennies ever made. And once the discovery hit the collector community, the reaction was explosive. Coin forums lit up. Dealers were in disbelief. How could such an error exist undetected for so long? Collectors started checking their 1988 pennies obsessively, hoping lightning would strike twice, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A pristine example of the 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny crossed the auction block, and it sold for over $1.8 million. That's right. A single cent, struck by accident, became a millionaire maker, and the best part? Most of these coins are still out there. Hidden. Waiting. Experts believe only a few dozen genuine 1988 no-mint mark transitional error pennies have ever been identified. The rest might be sitting in old jars, drawers, or dusty shoeboxes across America. Somewhere, a coin that looks completely ordinary could change someone's life forever, but here's the catch. Most people miss it. The difference is subtle, almost invisible to the naked eye. On the surface, the 1988 no-mint mark penny looks like every other Lincoln cent. But look closer. On the reverse side, where it says United States of America and 1 cent, there's a hidden clue. The design used for this error coin came from 1987, not 1988. Focus on the designer's initials, the tiny letters FG near the Lincoln Memorial. On the 1988 error penny, those initials match the 1987 style. They sit closer to the base of the memorial and have a distinct shape. That's your sign. If your 1988 penny shows that older FG style, you might be holding $1 million coin. Collectors were shocked when they realized how easy it was to overlook. People had been spending these coins for years, buying coffee or paying parking meters with something worth more than a mansion, but what makes it even more unbelievable is the story of one man from Ohio who found his in the most unexpected place. He'd been collecting coins since childhood but had never found anything valuable. One day, while helping his mother clean out her old purse drawer, he found a small envelope labeled "Pennies, just in case." Inside were about 20 coins, including one 1988 no-mint mark penny. Curious, he took it to a local dealer. The dealer examined it under magnification, and his eyes went wide. Within weeks, the coin was authenticated, graded, and insured. Months later, it sold at auction for more than $1.7 million. That man's life changed overnight. He didn't find his fortune in stocks or crypto, he found it in a penny his mother had saved for sentimental reasons. But why would the mint mark matter so much? Here's the secret. The Philadelphia Mint didn't always use a mint mark. Before 1980, most pennies made there had no mark at all. But after that, the mint began adding them consistently. So, a 1988 penny without a mint mark shouldn't exist in that form unless it was struck with the wrong die. And that's exactly what happened. This one-year crossover between design types makes the 1988 no mint mark penny a transitional error, the kind of mistake that keeps collectors awake at night. Transitional errors happen when the mint accidentally mixes up designs from different years, creating a coin that's technically impossible. But here's where things get even more dramatic. Some fake versions have surfaced, ordinary 1988 pennies altered to remove the mint mark or mimic the error. Scammers know how valuable this coin is. So, if you think you've found one, never clean it, polish it, or try to alter it. Take it directly to a professional coin grader like PCGS or NGC. They'll use microscopes, light analysis, and edge detail comparisons to confirm if your coin is real, and trust me, if it's authentic, your heart will skip a beat when you hear the verdict. Because that one penny could put you in the history books and make you a millionaire overnight, but here's the twist that keeps collectors hunting: some experts believe there are still undiscovered variations of this error. Slight differences in die wear, metal composition, and strike sharpness could mean multiple batches were created before the mistake was caught. That means more could be out there, waiting to be found by someone who simply decides to look closer. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or sort through that old change jar, take a moment. Hold each penny up to the light. Look at the date. Check under Lincoln's portrait. No mint mark? Flip it over. Examine those tiny FG initials near the memorial. They could be the difference between 1 cent and $1.8 million. Collectors say the thrill isn't just in the money, it's in the mystery. Every coin tells a story. Every small imperfection might be history whispering through copper, and remember, it's not the rarest coins that are found, it's the ones that are looked for. So keep your eyes sharp, your mind curious, and your heart ready for that moment when everything changes. Because the next legendary discovery isn't in a museum or auction house. It's in someone's hand right now, maybe yours. The 1988 no mint mark Lincoln penny has already made ordinary people millionaires. It's turned pocket change into life-changing wealth.